Welcome. You've arrived just in time. The sanguine droplets stain rather deeply, don't you know? As always, I am Wyatt, and you are most welcome into my ragged, ravaged, and waterlogged abode. Unsettling true tales await you. Before we begin, please remember to like, subscribe, and share for all of our up-to-date content to bring all those nefarious ne'er-do-wells and bloodthirsty cravens to more delicious and delicious content. Well, without further ado, shall we begin? This just happened, so I don't know how well this will be translated, considering I am a terrible writer and it's not originally in English. So I, male of 15, was going out for a walk. I left at around 11:50 p.m. or so, because I love walks during the night. It is insanely peaceful to me. I went to my usual spot to smoke on the bench nearby a park. It was getting boring, so I started to walk around a bit, get my blood pumping. Not far away from the apartment buildings that I had been walking, I had seen and noticed something on the hill. I looked upon it and, well, I have horrible eyesight, as a quick side note, specifically under LED lights. I believe I saw a girl with what I think to be long black hair to her shoulders, like those creepy ones in videos. I couldn't really see her face, but she was wearing a long dress that went down to her legs and was moving slowly like she was slumped with a limp. If that's making any sense, I really don't understand what I was concerned with at first. She really could have just been anyone. I decided to walk home because this was really weirding me out. So I turned around and walked home like it was nothing, away from her direction. But from that way, I could hear what I can only describe as a gurgling baby noise. You know, like when they coo or they cradle, when they want something, or when something's not quite right. I thought of it, and obviously it didn't make any sense. I wasn't gonna sit around and wait for something else to happen. I started to walk a little quicker as I started to notice not only the sound, but what sounded like the crunching of grass. As my ear jutted over my shoulder, I could hear her clearly moving toward me, or someone. And when I looked back, I didn't easily see her. Then, when I kept my face moving forward, it just kept on growing this intense creepiness. I began wanting to believe it was just a weird case of just some lady on the walk, so I took my phone out of my pocket and I acted like I was just messaging someone, letting someone know that there was something going on. Well, that's when I heard running, and it wasn't on the grasses on the side or, on people's property. No, it was on the pavement directly behind me. So I started running. Obviously, I got home, but I didn't see her or anything. At least, I couldn't tell. Again, shit eyesight. But honestly, as interesting as this is, mainly my horrible ability to explain things, the only thing that stuck with me is, of all the places that she could be, what I could remember and what I could see, the question that remains is, how can you run so fast in a long dress like that? That just sounds so difficult. So either my eyes are tripping me up, or somebody was full on sprinting in a long point dress and was very skilled at it. Long story cut short, me and my me and my boyfriend's family were out camping. Me and my boyfriend, his brother, and his brother's friend went out by the lake, about 12 minutes from the campsite. I was blowing up the inner tube when some guy with a bicycle laid down on the bench near me. No big deal, he was just resting. So, the four of us got into the water. I noticed 30 minutes later that the man with the bike is now up and muttering to himself while looking at us. Eventually, the guy started yelling incoherently at us and getting closer. My boyfriend gets out of the water and walks past the guy to get our car to grab a football. We thought, the guy was on his phone, he probably wasn't even focused on us. Turns out, the guy is talking about drowning a family with a little girl that was also by the lake. We heard this because, again, he went to grab the football and got close enough to hear. So, my boyfriend calls his parents. We all get out of the water once he tells us what's going on. The guy starts coming closer to us, then turning back, then coming closer, then turning back, then coming closer, and again he did this 6 times. Then he comes over to us. He just starts talking to us about things that, how the weather was, how good we smell, the whole thing. It weirded me out. My boyfriend tells him to go away. That's when I saw something in his belt. It looked like a screwdriver, and the screwdriver looked to have like some kind of red, maybe blood, maybe paint, I'm not sure. While talking to my boyfriend, his demeanor changed, and he says, "Yeah, I respect you, no problem, etc. Give you some space," and he walks away. We would have to pass him to get to the car, so he leaves, and he's leaving, and it makes things easier for us. But of course, a minute later, he starts coming back. Finally, my boyfriend's family show up, and so does a cop with them. Well, the cop goes, "Hey, Chad, what are you doing here?" Talking about the crazy guy. Turns out he was high out of his mind, and he was high, drunk, blasted, phased out of existence. Quite literally, he was high as the treetops. And this wasn't his first time encountering the cops. The cop got him in, took away his equipment, and took away his belt with the screwdriver, which it got turned out that it was in fact paint. Turns out that he did a lot of physical work in the area. Well, still weird. The part that was really unsettling was when he was getting apprehended after the belt came off, his pants came down and he had no underwear on. We got home safe, but being concerned by a crazy man with a weapon, or what could have been a weapon, that's not fun. I had something happen to me. You see, it happened, what, a year or two ago? This was back when Thor Ragnarok was in theaters. My boyfriend and I had gone to see it, being huge Marvel fans that we were. We were in line, fighting with the movie pass kiosk, when it felt like something brushed my hair, and then I felt a hard tug. Turns out the person behind us grabbed my hair and was not letting go. I began to panic as I had no idea who this person was, as I felt my hair, some of the strands began being ripped, and I could hear my boyfriend yelling at him to let me go. He began calling the police, and so too did the ticket booth person. And, well, thankfully, in the middle of calling and yelling, there was an off-duty police officer who was able to make his way over and help us get rid of this guy, or at least detain him until the, on-duty police were there. It was an experience that lasted probably a minute, but I was crying during and after, and it left a large bald spot about the size of a golf ball on my head. As well, of course, I had a headache for days. We decided to go ahead and go see the movie, and the guy who grabbed us, he was banned. Well, I guess after that, we just decided we wanted to do something, and we both signed up for some judo classes. I never want to be put into that situation ever again. Okay, so this isn't really like a paranormal encounter, but me and my friend, well, we decided to go for a walk around 1:30 in the morning. So we left and started walking around the road, and, you know, we vandalized some bus stops and were being altogether shitty kids. We even tried to steal a stop sign. We were underage, and there was a curfew, which was like 10 p.m. A car drove past us and stopped, and we were convinced it was following us. It ended up being just a mailman throwing some papers at a house, but when we went back to taking the stop sign down, we saw a car slowly drive towards us, so we ran to hide. It saw us hide, so it slowed down and came to a stop, the headlights beaming over. We were freaked out and thinking that, there was somebody who was trying to rat on us. We started running our way down, leading the road toward the neighborhood, our neighborhood. We couldn't hide anywhere because there were no trees that could really hide us. Or we couldn't even try to hide under the cars. They were difficult, but maybe that's the only choice we had. So the problem is, though, the cars were on the hill. So when you drove down, you could see what's underneath the cars, you see? So the man was following us and saw us trying to attempt this and came to a stop, got out of his car. This guy was maybe 5'9", really, really fat. Like, obese kind of guy. So in my head, I was like, this bitch can't chase us, what the fuck? But he had a car, so, well, we ran for it. Then we ran down the hill, and it ended up being a dead end. In our moments of fucking heart attack and speed, we didn't know where the fuck we were in that moment. But there was a small alleyway that we could run into. The alleyway was divided by 3 fences, and I tried to pry open the bottom of the fence, trying to make a gap. But someone had glued rebar between the stuck points of the fence. We were fucked. So we ended up just jumping over it. We jumped the fence and got to the second portion of the alleyway. And I knew we were safe because the fat ass creepo couldn't climb the fence, obviously. I had a hard time climbing it, and, being a 5'6" young teenager, I'm also very thin. I knew that we could get through, but his lard ass couldn't. He was parked at the entrance of the alleyway, just standing there. He ended up getting in his car and driving to the other end of the alleyway, something we didn't fucking think about. Keep in mind, the alleyway was in between 2 different houses, so we were trying our best not to wake the owners while also escaping from a fuckoid. I didn't know what to do at that point, so I pulled out my knife and I showed him that I had it. That's what I could think. I didn't know any other shit to do at this point. Anyways, we ended up jumping another fence, and eventually we were just hiding on the side of someone's house. We had to be very, very fucking quiet. I could, yeah, I could hear the car at the front of the house, and I could see the headlights reflecting off the wall. We ended up texting our friends and sending them our location. We waited until, well, the pig left. We jumped the fence into the house, and we ran up the hill towards my house. My house is at the bottom of a rocky hill, so we laid at the hill so the car couldn't see us. I could see the car slowly driving up and down, moving past us. Then, thankfully, saw one of our friends' headlights coming up over the side. We knew we were safe. That that shit sticks with me for my life, man. Be safe out there. The company I work for is in a warehouse, you see. We do shipments and such. The warehouse has 3 floors, but only the first floor has workers. The second floor has extra stock. The third is completely empty. No one really wants to go up there. The third floor used to be a number of things before the company I work for bought it out, the wholesale warehouse. Apparently, it was a hospital at one point, a funeral home, a morgue, a lot of, you know, dead people. I didn't grow up around there, so this was all new to me. Everyone swore that the floors were haunted. Me being a skeptical, went to the third floor to show them it wasn't that bad or anything. I went up to the second floor and then headed to the stairs leading to the third. I got a weird feeling, but I pressed on. Up the stairs I went. At the top of the stairs, I was greeted with a heavy feeling in my chest. Not sure how to describe it, but it was weird. I was moved through the floor. It, it slowly got worse, you know? I went through the middle of the room, and my chest felt so heavy and nothing but panic consumed me. There was no reason for the panic. It just hit me all of a sudden, and I was so confused. When I went back down to the second floor, I could feel the feeling slowly dissipating as I did. Continued to the first floor and went back to my desk. Well, I've been here for 3 months, and this happened a month ago. Randomly throughout the past month, I get hit hard with this feeling of panic for no reason, even when I'm at home. I will occasionally wake up in the middle of the night having this presence. The other day, I went back to the warehouse to pull an order and was hit with such a tremendous gut punch of a feeling. I almost dropped to my knees. It felt like I needed to book out of there, or else that something would just pull the weight off and lift me. So I gathered my strength and I fast walked back to the shipping room. Now I can't tell if maybe I just freaked myself out or remember what they were saying about the third floor being haunted as I went up. Or if it really is I just got screwed around while being up there, or maybe there's just something fucky with the air. I don't know. Can someone give me any advice on what I should do? Is there anything I can do? Or if I just scared myself straight to hell, I would appreciate it. My mom had just tucked me in tonight. I was about 6 years old, and suddenly my wall lights up orange. There's a noise outside, sort of like yelling, and I look out the window. It looks completely to glow orange. The light is sort of pulsing, or something. I don't know the word. And I get up and I go to tell my mom, who's putting clothes away and blinds down because she's still getting the night closed. I can't remember what she said, but she looks outside and just yells, "Shit." I kid you not, there was a 30-foot fire behind my neighbor's house across the road. I cried thinking of everything that would soon be destroyed. Very quickly, well, the fire spread across multiple homes. We stood outside for 20 minutes and it suddenly began to die down. My idiotic neighbors from the end of the street lit a flare off because they were partying and destroyed 7 homes. I don't know What's worse, that this traumatized me, or that it all happened because some assholes are being stupid? But I'll tell you, I still have nightmares of waking up and the whole room is orange. So, this is a story about me at about 10 or so, 10-year-old male. And my family went to a popular retail store. About 10 minutes later, I had to take a serious turd, if we're going to be vernacular here, if that's the right word. So, naturally, I went to the bathroom, and I went to the last stall in the men's room on the third floor. Not third floor, third minute. Goodness. As I left the bathroom, after going to the bathroom for about 3 minutes, I was finishing up. Then a guy entered the bathroom and went to the stall next to mine. At first, I didn't think anything of it. But then I realized that he didn't unbuckle his pants. He had his jeans on. He didn't lock the door that he was at. He was just standing at the door. It was beginning to creep me out, and I didn't want to move from the bathroom. The only thing I could see were his legs and his shoes. I dipped my head down and I kept looking at them, waiting for him to leave or to go to the bathroom or do something. I troubled myself and I looked a little further to see if he was looking at me somehow, and he wasn't. But that didn't mean anything. I was so scared because he didn't lock his door, unbuckle his pants. He was just standing there, right up to the door, and he wasn't moving at all. I was thinking about my options in that moment, but then I realized I couldn't leave because he could open the door in a moment and could just, I don't know, be stuck there. But just when I was going to make a run for it, a kid and his dad walked in. I was so relieved. I just sped walk out of there as quick as I could. I told my family shortly after we left. I always think back on what could have happened if I didn't run for it. Or if I did run before they entered. This was a year ago, and I always get goosebumps when I think about it or go into the bathroom alone. I know I won't be as scared and shouldn't be as scared, especially now that I'm older, but I never like to go into public bathrooms for more than maybe a minute, especially if there could have been a creepy guy that would have done that to me. I've had this on my mind for a while now, but haven't actually decided to do anything with it. This was the Halloween of 2019. This was my first time trick-or-treating in this area. It's an upper middle class suburbia with mainly elderly people and families. I was with about 6 people, most of which lived in the same neighborhood. This encounter was toward the end of the night. We had split up 2 groups. The first group of 4 were people who literally running ahead, and the second, me and 3 others, who were cold at the time, and it being that it had snowed the previous year, and well, that year, and we were ankle deep in snow in the middle of October, or the latter end. I was with a couple of my close friends who I call CNS. One of us decided to go with the other group last minute, so now it was just 3. This was the second to last house before we were back at my friend's. This house was a bit more run down than the other houses in the area. This was a rich people neighborhood and $500,000 houses everywhere. S rang the doorbell, and a few seconds later, a man in his about 60s appeared. He's wearing a blue sweater and a dark gray jeans and Santa slippers. He introduces himself and says he'll be right back. A minute later, he returned with a bowl full of candy. We all take one, and he invites us inside for some hot chocolate. The entire time, I felt easy, but CNS agreed. I'd rather be murdered with my friends than just see them go and disappear, so he let us in their living room and says we can sit here and watch TV until he finishes the hot chocolate. Now, we can see the kitchen, and as the only separation of the island, you see turns the TV and searches the channels. We agree on a show. When I look at the where our host is and he's making chocolate, nothing creepy was happening yet. Skip ahead to when we got our hot chocolate, and it's probably the best thing I ever had to this day. Better hot chocolate than I've ever had in my life. We were about to leave when he stopped us. I feel a gut sinking feeling when he says he wants to take a picture. I feel impending doom. You see, we're three young teens in an old man's house. I should explain our costumes real quick. I was a rainbow. My costume was black pumps and knee-high socks with black shorts revealing a mid-thigh and a white shirt with black leather jacket and a pride flag around my shoulders, and many other rainbow accessories. C was the color brown, meaning wearing brown Converses, tights, and tighter brown sweater that goes mid-thigh. S has some more curvy, was more curvy than C and was going as bubblegum. S was wearing pink flats, leggings, and a cropped hot pink sweater with the Hubba Bubba logo. We all declined the photo, but we noticed the flash as we left. Before we enter our last story, I would like to remind you, kind, beautiful guests within my repertoire, within my menagerie of decoration, if you would so kindly like, subscribe, and check out the other videos of the channel. One video that's currently buzzing about, of course, is our We'll Be Right Back, including SCP multiplayer. As well, my good companion Oz, as well as our friend Max, is currently going through some of the SCP multiplayer, and of course Fran Bow. If you enjoy creepy, otherworldly content, please suggest things in the chat. If you wish for me to run through and read through certain SCP or certain creepy pasta, please recommend them and I will take the time to do so. Your wish is my command. I have had a few night terrors that felt a bit strange. The first one that freaks me out was when I was lying on my stomach and my head suddenly felt extremely heavy. I thought I was waking up, so I started to lift my head, and this huge wave of terror came over me. My face was stuck on the pillow. I tried to scream because fear possessed me and it felt like there was something staring right at me next to my bed. It felt like it was waiting for me to turn my head and look at it. I felt so strange. I felt scared of what I was sure was nothing. And then, a couple nights ago, something happened again. I was lying halfway on my back, and I felt something shifting on my bed's right leg. The feeling was very heavy, and then it felt like it was shifting and started crawling up my leg, my thigh. I felt movement into my midsection above my pelvis and making way up across my chest. I felt it tingling as it slowly made its way up over my arm. I felt my heart beating out of its chest. All I could think and cry was Not this again. My eyes were closed because it felt like I was halfway asleep. I began jerking, shifting, attempting everything I could to fight the restraint. I finally found myself awake after forcing my head up. After a couple minutes, I began to feel a relief that there was nothing actually there. Those experiences were most uncomfortable. If you're feeling this, I've been reading lately. It's been sleep paralysis is a common one. I, but the more I read it, the more I feel concerned that this is similar but different in the same way. From each thing that I read about sleep paralysis, well, I I don't know. This felt like someone's hands were coming across me. If anyone has this experience, please give me advice. As well, I, Wyatt, suffer from sleep paralysis. If you in the audience do as well, or you would be interested in some of my stories, my personal experiences with sleep paralysis, oh, more than happily, well, happily is not the right word. I will indulge our mutual morbid curiosity by going into detail of what it's like to have your whole body work against you. Thank you, wonderful listeners, and please stop by again. I always enjoy your loving company. The house always hungers for more.